Instead of focusing on winning arguments, we're teaching the basic fundamentals of sales and marketing and how we can use them to win in the world of politics, teaching you how to meet people where they're at on the issues they care about. Welcome to the Brian Nichols Show. Well, happy Monday there, folks. Brian Nichols here on the Brian Nichols Show. Hope you had a great weekend. I am, as always, your humble host. And today, you know what's in store for you. Another fun-filled episode. And today we're going to have a returning group, but a different name associated with said returning group. Students for Liberty. Last time we had on the show Dr. Wolf von Laer. Today we're having Joshua Eakle join us on the program. Joshua, welcome to the program.
Hey, Brian. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, bud. Thank you for joining. We were reminiscing there. We were like, how long have we been friends on Facebook now? And I think we said like 6 years. And we both kind of laughed because, wow, no, 8 years, because time is crazy.
Yes.
And this is the first time we've actually connected face-to-face, though it be over the interwebs. But alas, we'll take what we can get. And Joshua, as I mentioned, you're a new face for Students for Liberty. Now, we had Dr. Wolf von Laer, the CEO for SFL on the program way back in 2018. I think it was right after our Justin Amash interview we had back then. And was a great opportunity to learn who Students for Liberty is, the fact that you guys are international and you have such a great presence, but also all the great work you're doing in helping raise awareness and support for liberty causes and organizations. And fast forward to where we are today. Obviously, we're talking to a lot of different people. You are now joining the SFL team, and I would love for you, if you could, to, number one, introduce yourself to the audience, also a reintroduction to Students for Liberty.
Sure. Okay. So, my name's Josh Eakle. I'm the Global Marketing Director here at Students for Liberty. And as Brian said, I think I've joined the team almost a year ago. It's about 8 months ago, I think now. So we're getting up on that year anniversary. For your audience who may not be familiar with Students for Liberty is the largest international student group focused on furthering the values of classical liberalism. We have students in over 114 countries on every inhabited continent. We last year had, I think, almost 3,000 events with almost 1 million attendees. And we're growing like crazy. This year I think we grew our budget by 30 or 40%, and we're just kind of experiencing meteoric growth, moving upwards and onwards, spreading the values of liberty across the world. In a nutshell, Brian, our mission is to educate, develop, and empower the next generation of leaders for liberty. And we're different from other student groups in the sense that we are truly decentralized and bottom up. So those of you interested in libertarian ideas, a lot of organizations like to talk about it, but then when it actually comes to living those values, we have built our organization to operate in that way. So that's kind of the 10,000 foot view. And you've got a cameo for my dog in the background. But glad to be here, Brian. Thanks.
Absolutely. That's what we call a special for the video watcher here on the YouTube. So you get to see Josh's dog. How about that? No, my friend, what you guys are doing is incredible. And we see the value of the liberty-based organizations here in the continental U.S. But to the point, you guys are across the world. And I think sometimes, more often than not, being Americans as we are, we get a little self-centered and maybe a little focused on what we have as our geopolitics here in America, and it turns into much more domestic politics versus the overarching liberty issues that we really should be focusing across the world. And I mean, I'll just say it. That's why I really made a hard turn towards discussing COVID over the past few years, because that was an issue that's literally impacting everybody. And I mean, we had people on the show from South Africa to Australia to anywhere in between pretty much on the program to give those different perspectives. And I think it's great because now you have a chance. And I say now you have a chance. There's always been the chance, but to the audience today, you can see that if you're out there you're in the SFL range of the target market, being a younger, liberty-oriented individual, you have a place to go. You don't have to feel like, oh, Young Americans for Liberty is out there in the United States, and I can't have access to that. You have an option, and the fact that you guys are actually getting things done, that's huge too.
Absolutely. And to your point about COVID, I mean, we just ended a massive protest movement within North America. Our students took to the streets in Canada after Trudeau declared that effectively martial law on the topic of the truckers. So, I mean, we literally, our students organized several events, protests across the country of Canada. and really made an impact. You can kind of go through our Twitter page and look at some of the just really powerful protest videos that came out of there. And our student groups are actually down, getting their hands dirty and fighting tyranny in their local communities across the world. Canada just being one example.
Josh, you're doing the Lord's work, my friend, because we need to have the ability for people to feel they have a place to go. And let's talk about some of the things you're going to be doing here at Students for Liberty. I know you guys have a lot of fun, exciting initiatives. And you mentioned 30 to 40% increase in funding. That's a nice little feather in the old cap there. So let's talk about some of the upcoming things down the road, whether it's short term or long term, from Students for Liberty.
Yeah. So this year, we one of the things that I'm excited to tell everyone about is that we are bringing back LibertyCon for the first time since COVID. That's going to be hosted in Miami towards the end of the year in the fall. Details to follow. You can get on the list for alerts at libertycon.com. But otherwise, some of our student activities that are coming up this year, a lot of our students were very impacted by the Ukrainian situation. So we're going to continue to track that and fight for Ukrainian sovereignty. We have, webinars going across the country. We have events going across regionally, and you can kind of go track those on our website, on our events page, to kind of see what's coming up in your region. But one of the big things that we just kicked off, Brian, that might be interesting is what we're calling the Prometheus Fellowship. The Prometheus Fellowship is a fellowship that we just launched this year for the top 50 students in SFL. And basically what we're going to be doing is flying in the top 50 into the United States for a series of trainings that's basically focused on, building their personal and professional skills. This is tens of thousands of dollars of investments that we're putting into these top 50 students. And, it's really focused on making sure that these young people have the tools they need to make a really dramatic impact in their professional lives. That program just kicked off. Applications are still open. Obviously, you do need to be an LC, a local coordinator, as we call it, to kind of get involved in that program. But the applications are open for the LC coordinator program right now. You can, apply to become an LC on our website. But that's a really exciting program that we just launched. And then on top of that, another thing I wanted to mention to your audience too, Brian, is that we're always hiring new staffers. With a meteoric growth this year, we have a bunch of open positions, and we're growing like crazy. So if anyone in your audience might be interested in getting a job in the movement, there's also that opportunity too.
There you go. Look, you want to work for liberty? There, you have an opportunity. And by the way, it's a great book you can read by our good friend Connor Dragotis, Work for Liberty, which is an organization you get together and also have different networking opportunities. A little plug there for Connor. Why not? But let's go back to SFL. You guys also have some awesome programs that you have for not just liberty activists, but for actually going out and making things happen in the community. Can you speak to some of the resources you offer?
So as an organization, we focus on providing, I'd say the biggest thing that I hear from students in SFL as to what our organization does that really is different than other organizations is we have an extremely powerful international decentralized network of students and alumni. So while we invest in our students, if you become a local coordinator, we'll invest in you, we'll put you through training programs, we'll give you the resources you need to do tabling and outreach on your college campus. We also have one of the largest and most powerful decentralized networks of liberty advocates, both current students and previous alumni that work together to kind of provide people with opportunities for career advancement, to provide feedback, insights, skills and education building, across the world. So no matter where you are, no matter what continent you're in, you can kind of have access to that network. And that alone is one of the most powerful things I think that makes Students for Liberty different than other organizations, is just the fact that we are focused so much on cultivating the next generation of leaders. And to that end, the resources that we provide on the tabling side, the education side, the skills building side, are mashed with the existing network of leaders that we've built over the last 13 years that all work together to kind of come alongside each other to help people with different projects. One of the things that you see in student groups is other student groups like ours is that they're very focused on the political space and exclusively the political space. Students for Liberty, while we're very focused on, the typical libertarian ideas like academic freedom, individual freedom, economic freedom, we are also focused on making sure that our students can go out into the world and make an impact for liberty in ways that are not just politics. We have entrepreneurs that come through our program. We have journalists that come through our program. Writers and creatives that come through our program. And the way that we see it is we look at it very holistically. We send out somebody in, we both know that the most of the important society culture changing work that happens is not through politics. It's through the private sector. It's through innovation, right? And so it's not just, you don't have to just be politically interested. If you're interested in classical liberal values and you want a network to kind of come alongside you, cultivate your skills, and really give you the resources you need to succeed in whatever your passion is, that's what we're focused on, is finding those leaders, giving them the tools they need, and plugging them into the network and letting it run.
You had a slogan you mentioned there before, and guess what? We share the same first word, educate. Yep. And I think that's a super duper important part because, and we talk about this in the world of sales too, you have to educate your client along the way while also piquing the interest, while also getting that emotional appeal. You have to bring something of value to the table. And you guys are doing that. You have two different resources over at Students for Liberty, SFL Academy. And then I think a lot of people know of the organization Learn Liberty, which is the learning arm. Talk about the SFL Academy and Learn Liberty for us.
So it's interesting. We actually are kind of merging those two together this year, Brian, and we're launching Learn Liberty courses. We're kind of like rebranding that product as Learn Liberty courses, and that's going to be happening this year. But in a nutshell, what SFL Academy is, it's a gamified platform where you can learn about the values of liberty in like a gamified engineering, like a really motivating type environment for effectively for free. We provide that to our LCs as part of the program. And so that works in tandem with Learn Liberty, which Learn Liberty is basically a media site. It's a YouTube channel. We have a website that just focuses on educating the broader public on what libertarian values mean in practical application. So, one of our more viral videos on the Learn Liberty side is about, why everything you hear about inflation is wrong. There's a video where Anthony Davies debunks a lot of these myths that you hear, perpetuated in the mainstream media about how, inflation is caused by X, Y, or Z, and it's not just to do with the money supply, or maybe it's good. It's a great video, and there's a series of them. They come out with videos every week on the topic, trying to educate the public. But the SFL Academy, that tool specifically is available to our LCs, our local coordinators, as we call them. And that's just it's a very powerful education platform where you learn about the values of liberty and have a fun time doing it.
Over the past 3-4 weeks, probably longer than that, we've really been digging into the future of not just the monetary policy, but also the future of technology, looking at blockchain, so cryptocurrency, blockchain technology. We just had another conversation here last week with our good friends over at the Beckley Foundation and the Cure token and Cure chain. Both Jacob Beckley and Jim Nasser talking about the value of, not only are they going to be opening up the healthcare space to help unsilo the research, but now all the research is going to be there, and it's going to be able to really help incentivize exponential growth in the development of healthcare. Just the innovation in healthcare has been so stifled by the regulations out there, and the ability to actually grow. And one of the things I noticed over on your site, and I was going through, you're talking about changing the way things are done. We're seeing technology change, but sometimes it can be confusing. That's why I've been having, candidly, guests on my show to help explain this stuff, because I think your average person will come into a conversation and they'll be like, yeah, I want to like Bitcoin, but I don't know a lot about it. I don't feel educated to speak on it. And then they just kind of play fly on the wall, more or less, whereas you're actually offering a Bitcoin Academy. So Joshua, what does that look like, and what would that entail?
Yeah, so we actually put this together in January, and it's something that we plan to bring back again this year. Basically, what Bitcoin Academy was, and just to take a step back, our CEO Wolf, who you had on the podcast, is massively orange-pilled, and so is many members of our leadership team and our staff and our students. So we're all on the Bitcoin train, not only because of its power for individual freedom and sound economic reasons. But we also pay our staff in Bitcoin. That's a whole nother conversation. Or we allow our staff to take Bitcoin as payment if they want to. But no, in a nutshell, what Bitcoin Academy was we brought in some big names in the movement. Alex Gladstein, Stefan Vieira, Wolf, obviously. And we brought them together for free training, a webinar-based training for about 3 weeks, where you could opt in, no cost, learn about the power of Bitcoin for human rights, the power of Bitcoin, for economic freedom, economic liberty, privacy, and why it We believe it's one of the best tools that we have to further liberty in our lifetime. And so this was something we put together for free to the broader public in January. I actually was talking to Wolf about bringing this back either in the summer or the fall. And we plan to do these over and over again, not just on Bitcoin, but on other topics that are surrounding, our value set and our set of pillars, as we call them. But that's something, that's an extension of what we do. We take our network, we connect, these really powerful, educational resources, these very influential people, and we provide them to young people for free, so they can learn, grow their skills, and kind of understand how to communicate better about these ideas. And Bitcoin Academy is just one piece of that.
So your average person out there who's listening, their interest has been piqued, and now they're saying, "Okay, Joshua, let's do this. I want to get involved with SFL." Now, obviously, it's an international market that you're reaching out to. So if I'm somebody, I'm interested in getting involved with SFL, what's that process look like?
First place to start would be going to our website, signing up to get alerts. You can do that pretty easily. If you're interested in becoming a local coordinator and kind of having these resources and skills kind of come alongside and back you up, you can also go to our website and apply for the LC program. In the US, I believe applications are open right now, and they're open year round. In other regions and in other countries, we do typically have a limited window. And I think it's about to open for most regions in the spring. So, keep an eye on that. But you can go to our website. You can apply to become an LC. You can get connected with our network, obviously via social media, the typical ways, and via email. And if you're on the list and we have, say, other opportunities like a Bitcoin month or these free resources, we make sure to notify our entire network about that and push that, month over month. So I think that's a good place to start. If you're interested in the LC program, I would recommend going ahead and planning to apply in the spring. If you're in the US, feel free to apply anytime. Understand that, 70% of those applications are denied. So, think through that application, make sure that you're putting your best foot forward. Because we have limited resources, and we have to make sure we're intentional in that way. But yeah, you can find out all those details on the website for sure. StudentsForLiberty.org.
There you go. And also one thing that I thought was really cool too is that not only do you have all those resources, you have an entire library of books available for people just to go download to get more educated on the topics. And I mean, is it not cliche in many cases where we're like, well, have you read this book? Whenever somebody's asked a question about name libertarian topic, and
right.
And to your point in what we're talking about today, sometimes books don't necessarily reach people where they're at, but rather it helps reinforce the issues that we're bringing to the table. So it is important to get more educated. And I think the fact you guys have a resource there is great, but also you have a resource available for people if they want to go ahead and write. So how can people go ahead and write for Students for Liberty?
That's a great question, Brian. I appreciate you asking that. So we do have a blog. You can check that out at the website as well. At the bottom of the blog page, you can apply to become a writer. And we are always looking for writers and content contributors, especially from young people within the liberty movement across the globe. Our network is very large. We have a lot of contributors from a vast amount of different cultures, but we are always looking to add to that. We also are expanding some of our operations in creating short form video content too. So you may be a writer. We can help connect you with our get your content shared on our platforms. We're happy to do that. We're also looking for people that say make TikTok videos and short form stuff. I mean, it's a very growing platform right now. It's very condensed. It's very it's just kind of, I'd say it's kind of an art to be able to put together good content. So, if you're interested in that too, you can obviously, you can shoot an info at studentsforliberty.org and inquire on that, and we'll follow up with you as well. But on our website, you can go to that bottom there, write for us, and we're always looking for new submissions and new different diverse ideas to share on the blog.
See, if I had a producer that was like on with me right now, I'd be like, pull up that video of the TikTok where it's a guy, it's a boss, like he's basically a real life Michael Scott, and he's trying to explain to I think it's an insurance company, what a TikTok is and how they're going to do the TikTok. It's so boomer cringeworthy. It's so great because it starts out with him saying, TikToks are very difficult to do. I mean, you have to catch their attention in 1.5 seconds.
I'm a millennial, and the only thing that makes me feel old is when I get on TikTok and I'm like, how did these people make? I mean, it's really some of the stuff. It is truly an art form to make this really great content, and it's really worth noting that as a platform, you can reach millions of people for, completely organically by making good content. So if you have a skill with that, we would love to have you. I can even pay you.
There you go. You want to make TikTok videos and actually know you're going to get paid versus hoping you're going to get paid. Josh Eakle can help you out there. How about that? All right, folks. Well, hey, if you enjoyed today's episode, I'm going to ask you to do me a favor. Please go ahead and give it a share. And when you do, make sure you tag Josh, SFL, and of course, yours truly at B Nichols Liberty. Josh, any final thoughts or words of wisdom you want to leave the audience with today?
No, just I appreciate you having me, Brian. It's been a pleasure to meet you in person the first time after all these years, or digitally, I guess. This is basically in person right now after COVID. But no, again, if your audience is interested in learning more, studentsforliberty.org, check us out on social, opt in, get those alerts, and apply for that LC program. And I'll plug the hiring again. We are hiring for a lot of different positions. We're growing like crazy this year. So check out the jobs tab on the website too and see if any of those catch your fancy. But otherwise, Brian, thank you for having me. Greatly appreciate it.
You got it. Well, folks, there you go. There's your call to action. So please go ahead. I'll make it easy for you. Click the artwork in your podcast catcher. It'll bring you to today's episode where you can find all the transcript as well as all the links. So if you want to go ahead, yes, and work for Students for Liberty, well, there you go. But also, if you want to go ahead and give Joshua Eakle a shout, please go ahead. And when you do, make sure you tell him that Brian Nichols sent you. So with that being said, it's Brian Nichols signing off here on the Brian Nichols Show for Joshua Eakle from Students for Liberty. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks for listening to the Brian Nichols Show. Find more episodes at briannicholsshow.com.